What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? It's Goat Mike here. Goat Mike here. Back with another banger. Let's get right into it. So what I want to say is that Michael Porter Jr. needs to demand a trade from the Nuggets. He needs to go to another team that's willing to give him minutes. You know, you can't get better on defense if you're not playing. You can't get better at dribbling or passing every now and again. You can't get better at basketball just riding the bench. You have to be on the court. Michael Porter Jr. is being disrespected by Mike Malone. Michael Porter Jr. is the best player off the bench for the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. is better than Grant. He's better than Torrey Craig. He's better than Morris. He's better than all these guys. Michael Porter Jr. has been the second best player to me in this series, but they refuse to give him a good amount of minutes. To me, the offense needs to run through Porter Jr., not Jokic. Jokic is not doing what Porter Jr. is doing. Porter Jr. can get buckets. If I'm the coach, I make Michael Porter Jr. the second option because he's just that cold-blooded. And the thing about it is that I hate the fact that the coach is hating on Michael Porter Jr. when he's played better than Jokic all series long. The coach should be fired immediately. Michael Porter Jr. can get buckets. Not only can he get buckets, but he can get rebounds, stick backs. He creates extra possession for his team. He hustles. He does all those things. So for the coach hating on Michael Porter Jr., needs to be fired. Michael Porter Jr. needs to demand a trade to go somewhere else because it is just not fair that he's not getting playing time when he should be getting playing time. Sorry, y'all, I'm yawning. I'm tired. So Michael Porter Jr. needs to demand a trade from the Nuggets for not playing him. Because if I'm a dude that can get buckets and you're playing bums ahead of me, I will demand a trade. So if I'm Michael Porter Jr., I would demand a trade to go somewhere else. Because if I know I can get buckets and you refuse to play me, I need to leave your team. Period. So Michael Porter Jr., I hope you looking at YouTube. You need to demand a trade, man. Demand a trade, man. They ain't respecting you. You know what I'm saying? Michael Porter Jr. is the best player off the bench, and he's been the best player in this series. To me, Michael Porter Jr. is doing more than Jokic in less time. Michael Porter Jr. does more than Jokic in less time. Michael Porter Jr. should demand a trade. Period. Facts.